This is An Exciting Future. The Story of Lek, a Bar Girl in Pattaya, by Owen Jones, narrated by John Roberts. 1. Starting Again. As the wheels of the aircraft touched down on the runway at the new Bangkok International Airport called Suvarnabhumi, Craig knew that he was going to have his hands full with Lek. She suffered badly from travel sickness. It was her one big weakness. But she even got sick on the bus going to the market. So a flight of 11,500 kilometers and 15 hours was always going to be a problem. Lek had taken 5 of the green tablets, which were her favorite anti-travel sickness pills. She always seemed to have about 20 of them in her bag. 1 tablet would make her appear a little drunk, but 5 made her seem like an escapee from a lunatic asylum. He had seen it on the outward flight. He looked at her sitting next to him. Her eyes were glassy, and she was humming something quietly to herself. "Are we there yet?" she asked. "That was quick. Have we stopped off somewhere?" "We're in Thailand," he replied a little too testily. Craig was 50 years old and had never asked a woman to marry him so far, but he thought he might like to ask this one. She was a handful, as they say. That was to be sure, but there was also something about her that he found very special. He didn't like her taking those pills, though. But he knew how badly affected by travel sickness she would get. She had to throw up in her crocodile-skin handbag once, her pride and expensive joy, because they had gone on a short bus ride, and she had forgotten to transfer all her paraphernalia into the new bag. It was either be sick in her new bag or on the floor of the bus, and she would rather die than do that and lose face. Later, she would have to be assisted like a drunk through the airport, baggage control, and immigration, and suffer the stern stares from the Thai officials, who would assume that she had drunk too much cheap alcohol on the plane. He was glad that she had chosen to wear long, baggy trousers. The plan of the day was Lek's usual one whenever anything unusual or exciting happened to her, namely, to get down to Daddy's hobby in Pattaya and tell her friends all about it. In fact, it didn't have to be anything unusual at all. It was just the place where Lek felt most at home in the world. Daddy's hobby was the name of the bar that Lek's cousin owned, and where he had met her. Craig didn't mind going there one little bit. The 24 bar girls always made a big fuss of him, and Lek even encouraged them to do it. Within a couple of hours, he'd have girls hanging off his shoulders, sitting on his lap, and plying him with drinks, while Lek recounted the details of her recent adventure in the UK. She should have come round a bit by then, too. Just in time to share a couple of bottles of whiskey with her ex-colleagues. Still, it would be very pleasant, and the apartment that he had booked before they had left was not far from the bar. He was wondering whether that would be a good time to propose, in front of her friends, when she least expected it, and when she would get the maximum amount of attention and admiration. It would certainly give her face a boost, not that it was flagging in Pattaya. All her friends thought she was a star, 1 in a million. Craig thought so, too. However, first things first, he thought. People were starting to disembark. Craig thought it best to wait for most people to get off before he tried to coax and manhandle Lek down the aisle, so they just sat there, and he tried to get her to get a grip on herself, without much success. The cabin staff were helpful. They understood about the tablets, and Lek and Craig eventually made it to immigration, which was pretty straightforward, although Lek did attract a few of the
Sample complete. Ready to continue?